Hi all. In today's session, we are going to learn how we can load the different types of JSON file formats and we can copy that file from the blob storage to SQL Server table. So I have three JSON files. I'll show you that files I have uploaded in my blob storage. If you can see, this is my blob storage open in my screen. And here I have created two folders. I created JSON input folder. So if I open this container, this folder, I have uploaded these three files. Okay, that is of JSON type, and this is having a different structures, different formats. So to view the content inside this JSON, you have to select it, and there is an option edit. You have to click it, and there you can see the content of the JSON file. So you can see here it is very simple JSON file where we have fruit size, color, and only one entry for that. So this is very simple JSON file, and now we can check the second one. Here we have click on added to see the content. Here we have, you can see, we have first name, last name, gender, age, address, and in address we have address is a kind of a array. If you see, address is having a three entities inside it, three values, pair values. Okay, uh, key value pairs. If you can see, street address, city and state, and then we have a phone number inside that. Also we have one entry, type and phone number. So this is also kind of a simple JSON array, because we have only one index for address. We have only one entry. I mean, not one entry, like one index entry. Okay, we do not have multiple arrays. We have only one array for the address and one array for phone number. So this will be considered as a simple JSON file, and this can be moved to SQL Server table using the copy activity. Now the third file, if you see, if I select it, okay, and let me click on add it to see the content of this file. Here if you can see, I have one parent. You can see parent hierarchy pupil, and inside that I have an array of values. So I have three. Zeroth index we have this much values, and in first index, that is people zeroth index, I have this much values, key value pairs, first name, last name, gender, age, and number. And this is the third one. Okay, this is so if you see, we have multiple arrays inside our JSON file. So this is a kind of a complex file, and it is not going to copy to the SQL Server table using the copy activity. For that, we have to use the data flow activity. So I'm going to show each of the files how we can move or how we can copy these files to, we'll try to copy these files to the SQL Server table using the copy activity, and what issue we will face if we use the copy activity to copy this type of this complex JSON file to SQL Server table. So without any further ado, let's go get started and go to the data factory. So if you can see this, here I have opened the Azure data factory. If you can see here, and the very first thing is that we are going to load this fruit JSON file. Okay, this is very simple. So let me, for that, what we need to do, we need to create one pipeline. Okay, let me create one pipeline. So we are going to create a new pipeline for this, and it is fruit detail we are going to copy, right? So let me give that name copy fruit, kind of things like. Okay, so this is the name of my pipeline, and we are going to drag the copy activity. Here we have to provide the source and sink. So source would be our blob storage, as we have loaded this file in the blob storage. So you have to create a data set for that. So we are going to quickly create a data set. Will not, I don't want to take much time. So let's select the blob storage here, and our file is the type of JSON. So select the JSON, and here we can put it like this, blob, okay, JSON, and it would be our source. Okay, so blob JSON source, and the link service will be our blob. I think this is our. Okay, correct. I have already a link service which is connected to the blob storage, so I have used that, and here I have to provide the path. So go to the JSON input folder. This is the folder. Here I have a file, so I have selected this file. So this is all done, and this dataset will be created. This dataset is pointing to my file which is stored in the storage. Okay, so this is fine here. Okay, everything is fine. Now we have to go and move, create a dataset for the sink. So sink would be our source, would be our SQL. So I have to put select the Azure SQL database, go here, and let me give name as a um, data set for SQL. Okay, data set for SQL, let's that, and this is the link service for the SQL DB. I have already link service for that, and here I need to provide a table name. So I'll show you the data set here. So this is my if you see, this is my data server. Okay, and this is my database. I have already only a one database, and inside that these two tables I have right now. And I wanted to create a table on runtime when my pipeline will be executed, and the table fruit details table will be created on runtime, and whatever the data we have in the fruit details session, it will load into that table. So for that, what we need to do, you do not need to write any thing. What you can do, you can give the name here dbu. Okay, and here I want table like fruit details. Okay, so this is the table where I want it, and just click on OK. And after that, once it will be done. Just wait for a couple of seconds. It's taking a more time and as usual. Okay, import schema failed, database operation failed with the following invalid object name. Okay, so what we need to do, we have to remove it. Okay, just now the day we have to refresh it so that we do not have any data. Okay, what we can do, we can select it none. From here we will select it as none. And now what we need to do, in that site, the time when we creating data set, that time we do not need to provide. Here we have to choose this option auto create table, and after that we can give the name of the table. So here I wanted to create a auto create table. That means I wanted my table to be created automatically. So in that case, now go to sync, and here you have to provide the table name. So that setting, because we didn't use select the auto create table, that's why we are facing that issue. Okay, so free fruit table, let's say. So this is the table we have. We wanted the new table will be created with this name. So go back here. So our pipeline is been created, which will copy our data from source to, and if you wanted to preview the data, okay, so here is a button where you can click on, and you can see whatever the source which you are trying to connect with. This is the file. This file, this is correct file. You can check it, and then you can check it, and from the preview data. And here it is done. Let's click on the debug to see whether the data will be loaded. The new table will be created, and our JSON file data will be loaded or not. So let's wait for a couple of time. Refresh it. It is executing here. It is in progress. See, it got succeeded. If you see, click on this lens icon, and you can see the data, the JSON file is placed in the storage, and there was a file and one row will be read it, and it is written in this one row is written into this SQL database. So if you wanted to check, go back to the storage, go back to your SQL database. Here you have to refresh your table and load it. See, this is now one table is been created with a fruit table. Okay, click on select to see how much record. So we have apple, large and red, so only one record. If you see the JSON file, we have only one record inside this file. So accordingly, the new simple JSON file will be loaded. It behaves simply, it behaves exactly the same if like a CSV file, if we have only one or two records, simple records, right? If we do not have a multiple arrays in the JSON file, then it will behave simple as exactly as a .csv file. So here you can see we have only one record. Okay, this will become our headers, column headers, and this will become our values inside that in the story, in the SQL database. So this is done. This is very easy, so that's fine. Now we go to our blob storage and check what will happen for the second file. Okay, second JSON file, which is having only one set of a array. So if you go here, and you can see sample to JSON. Okay, so here if you see, here the data is little bit complicated. We have one simple array, okay, for address and for phone number. here how we can move this file, how we can copy this file to the database. So that is also say similar. If you go here and you can create, or instead of creating, what we can do, we can modify this as well. Okay, it's not a problem, because I just wanted to show, because if we have only one label hierarchy, one set of array, then it is also fine to use the copy activity, but we have a multiple arrays, then it is not possible. So let's say, or for better clarity, so that you will not get confused, what I can do, I will create one more pipeline. Okay, so that here I'll create a new pipeline, and I'll give this name as a pipeline CPY for a copy. Oh, sorry, pipeline CPY and sample 2. Okay, so give it the name as a sample 2. So this will be pipeline. Let's drag and drop the copy activity. Just minimize it to get a better view. So this is fine. Keep the normal name. Go to the source would be our blob storage, because this file is present in blob storage. So if you see here, we have this data set already been created, but if you open this data set, you can see we have connected with file path would be JSON input folder, which is correct in our case also, but the file, if you can see, it was fruit details earlier. So what we can do, we can change it. Okay, we can change it. Instead of fruit details, this time we can choose this one, sample2.json. So see, we have used the same data set what we have created for the fruit, and we have just changed our file here. Okay, now go back to our pipeline. That is fine. This is all correct, and we said the file path is in the data set, which is correct. We have given the file path in the data set itself, so this option is correct. Now we have to go to the sync option, and here we have to move this file, or we have to copy this file to our data set. Okay, this Azure demo database. So let's see if we have this data set. Let me open this data set and see. No, this is the blob source. So do one thing, what we can do, we have blob JSON destination. Let's create a new data set. Okay, that's not a problem. Let's select the SQL. Okay, and here we'll see data set for SQL. Okay, SQL DB. Let's see. Linked service we already have. That is fine. Now here it is asking again, as in the previous example we have seen, right? Okay, so what we can do, we wanted to auto create the table also. So what we can do, we will keep this as blank, simply create a data set, and which will connect to our database. Now here we need to create, select this option. Like I wanted to auto create the table at the runtime. So when I select this option, then I need to go to sync, and here I need to provide uh, the name of the table, by what name you wanted to auto create your table. So I wanted name like suppose sample2 with the same name. Okay, sample table, let's say. This table I wanted to create, okay, on the runtime. So this is fine, we have done it. So here if you wanted to see the pipeline, okay, this is your pipeline, sorry, this is your pipeline. Go to source. Why it is coming blue? Here if you see, if you wanted to see, preview the data, the exact file you have mapped, your data set is mapped with the exact file which you wanted to load. So click on preview. You can see, yes, sample2.json file is the correct file which I wanted to move, or which I wanted to copy to our data destination. This is fine. So let's try and debug it and see whether this one label hierarchy, or one label, a single array, okay, which is single array which is present in the JSON file, will is allowed to copy it into the SQL database. So that we are going to check here. So it is running. Just click on this refresh, and it got succeeded. See, so click on this lens icon to see here the data read, file read 1. Okay, we have one file, and row is also 1. Here row return is 1. So go back to your database and see, refresh the tables. This is an icon to refresh your table, and here if you can see, sample2 table has been created. Click on this and see how many records we have got here. We have to execute it. So if you see here, first name, last name, gender, age 28. Okay, so we got Joe Jackson, male 28. Okay, this way, if you see here, we got first name, last name, gender, and age 28, but we are not able to see this address and phone number. Okay, so just let me. So here, if you see in the database, okay, so we got Joe Jackson, only one, two, three, four columns, okay. But in JSON file, you know, right, we have other columns as well, which is other headers, which is address and phone number. So it is not actually loaded into the database. Why? Because we have not mapped. So go to the Azure Data Factory, okay, click on your activity, and here if you see we have a mapping, so that we have not done. What we can do, we have to click on the uh, import schema. Okay, just wait for a because we have to map the columns between the source and sink, and then it will be okay. That just wait for a couple of seconds, then it is loading the mapping from the source file. Okay, it is mapping, it is loading. Okay, so it got loaded here. If you can see, these are the files. Sorry, these are the columns which we have in the file, source file, first name, last name, gender, age. Okay, so this is one-to-one mapping. This is, you can see, it's a straightforward mapping with your destination columns. But here, if you can see, this is address is not a column, it's an object, and inside the object we have this manys. Okay, so it is asking here because we have not added anything here. So that's why it got blank, that's why it is not loaded in the destination. So now it is saying what do you want, you wanted to load it, you in that case you have to provide the name. Okay, provide the name of your column. So if you can see here, we have address, in address we have street address, city, and state. So I want this to load it. So in address I have street address, so let me give the name as a street address, like this. And in city, let me give the column as a city. Okay, let me give the name as a state. And similarly, if you see in the phone numbers, we have in the zeroth index we have type, and here in the phone numbers again we have in the zeroth index we have another values or number. So what you can say, whatever the column name you wanted to put in your destination, you can put it here. So here we can say like home contact. Okay, and what is the value here, we have a home. Okay, type, contact type. So better, I think I can give the name of the column as a contact type. Okay, uh, contact, contact type. So what is the type of the contact, and here I will take as a phone number. So this way I have provided, see in the destination side now I have provided these many columns. Earlier, because it was not mapped correctly, that's why it only loaded first four columns values. But now I have mapped the street address, city, state, contact type, and phone number column as well in the destination. So this mapping is done. Now if you again click on the debug, okay, and try to run this pipeline. So let's see what will happen. So I have clicked on the debug, now it is executing. If you see, this pipeline is in queued state. Let me refresh it, and then we will see whether all the columns will be loaded into our destination table or not. Let's refresh it again. It got failed. Why? Let me check. What is the, if it got failed, how we can check it? We have to see this. There is an error measure. SQL invalid column name. Street does not exist in the table. Okay, so what we can do here, let me go ahead and let's drop this table because we are going to recreate, because this table is already been created, right? So that's why it is giving an issue. So let me do one thing. Let me drop this table, and if I refresh it, So my table should not be there. Okay, so table is not here. Let me remove all the query pen and go to the data factory. Now try to again uh, execute our pipeline and wait for a couple of seconds. Your pipeline is in queued state. Try to refresh it. So see, this time it got succeeded because the very first time table was already created with the 4 columns. So next time what we did, we mapped the other rest of the columns. But because the definition of the table is already there, so it was not able to create, insert those table value, those added 3 column values. Now go to the database to check. Let me refresh it. See, the table is here. And here if you see, street address, city, state, contact type, phone number, every column value is now displayed here, you can see. So this way, if you have JSON file with only one hierarchy, or we can say only one, not multiple arrays elements, we have only one array, then it is possible to use the copy activity and load your file into the destination. But if you have this file, okay, which I have shown you earlier. Let me go to the home page, and here in the blob storage, uh, in the container, if I have this, okay, this file, JSON 4 file. So here if you can see, we have a multiple arrays, okay. In the people we have first this one array, then two complete, okay. We have multiple arrays in the JSON file. So in that case we have multiple, in 0th index we have 1th index and 2nd index. So we have 3 rows. So these 3 rows we wanted to load into the database. So in that case, if we use the copy activity, so what will happen, only the first index, okay, only this first name, last name, gender, age with the Joe, Jackson, male, these values will be inserted into the database, but this James Smith will not be loaded into the database. So in such cases, such type of the JSON file, what we are going to do, we have to use the data flow activity, okay, and we have to flatten it. So for that, what we need to do, we have to go to the data factory, and here we have, instead of copy activity, if you see, in the move and transform category, we have either a copy data and data flow. So what happened, what is the difference between these two is, if you have a files where you do not need to transform anything, you have to simply copy and copy the content from the source to destination. Destination can be a different destination. It could be a Cosmos DB, it could be a SQL server, it could be a blob storage, ADLS location, Amazon. So whatever the destination. So if nothing will be changed in the file itself, or in your content, then you can use the copy data activity. But in case if you have a data which you are moving from the source to destination, and you have to transform it, okay, you have to add it, or you have to flatten the file, or you have to add some derived column, you have to join the content from two files, like that. If any kind of the transformation is there, in that case we have to use the data flow activity. Okay, so I'll do one thing, this part, how we can move this type of file, okay, in using the data factory to the to the SQL database, I will cover in the next session, because this session is going a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do, this complex type, because in this session I need to introduce the data flow activity as well, and this will be a very new concept if you are following my ADF series, then it will be a new concept. So I have to explain a little bit more about the data flow activity, what data flow activity, what are all the facilities we have. So in so that session, I mean that if I do it, so it will be a bit longer, so I will cover it in the next session. Okay, so hope you understood like how we can execute, how we can load our JSON, simple JSON files using the copy activity, and where all we can use the copy activity in which kind of the JSON file. But if our JSON file is having multiple arrays, then it is not possible. In that case, we have to use the data flow activity. And how to use the data flow activity, what are the data flow activity, that we will cover in the next session. So I think you have get a little bit idea about the JSON file, and the limitation of where we can not use the copy activity. So hope you like this video. And in case if you have any doubt, please comment me in the comment box. Thank you and have a nice day. Till the time, happy learning.